Welcome to The Red Velvet Woman. This is a podcast for women who want to build a beautiful life after toxic narcissistic relationships. I am obsessed with assisting these women who are on the verge of change to help them transform their lives by getting unstuck, stepping into your power, and unlocking the best version of you, and ultimately fulfilling your potential after breaking free from your narcissistic ex. I'm going to help you empower yourself to heal, recover, and redesign your thoughts and energy so that you flourish into the beautiful and amazing person you always were underneath and are going to be again. But this version of you is going to be bigger and better. This is for those babes who are ready to leave their limits at the door and level up. Your life is about to change, so get ready. I have personally gone from confusion to clarity and from survive to thrive. And guess what? So can you. I am your host, Alycia Powell. I'm a life coaching student, a registered nurse and midwife, business owner, YouTuber, and the creator of The Red Velvet Woman. I am so happy that you're here. Let's do this together. Yeah, so welcome to the show, Alycia. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate having you here. I'm very excited, as you obviously know, because I've been telling you for days.
That's okay. Thank you so much for having me. This is my first podcast, so it's very exciting.
Oh my goodness, yeah. I feel so special. I'm like breaking your podcast bubble.
You certainly are. Very grateful for you asking me. Thank you.
Not a problem. So for everyone that's listening, I actually asked Alycia, I sent Alycia a message after watching her Instagram stories. She was talking about her body transformation in the last, it's been a few years now, hasn't it, the whole process?
Yeah, about 8.
Wow, it's a long time. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember you were talking about how you were detoxifying your life and your food and all this sort of stuff, and you mentioned having a toxic relationship, and that's when my ears pricked up a bit more, and I was like, oh, I might just send Alycia a message and see if she's willing to have a chat about that. And funnily enough, you responded, and here we are. So I was totally stoked, which is really cool.
Of course. I think it's really important for people to talk about these sorts of things. So when you mentioned it, I'm a very open person. So, yeah, I'm more than happy to share my experience if it can help people.
Yeah, totally. Well, that's why I want to have people on this particular podcast. So, because I know a lot of women that go through relationships that aren't healthy or are toxic or whatever, a lot of them do feel quite alone. Do you know what I mean? They get isolated, whether that partner makes them isolated or they isolate themselves because, you know, they're confused, they've got mixed emotions and all that sort of thing. So I think this sort of thing will help kind of get the word out, make them less alone.
I think a lot of women feel quite embarrassed too that they've let the situation get so far, and that's the really isolating thing, I feel, because everyone should be able to talk about their situations and ask for help and support if they're really needing it. So making this not such a taboo thing to talk about is really great.
Absolutely, and like it can be a really long time that you don't talk about it as well. You know what I mean? Like you might know things not quite right for ages before you actually go to your friends or your family and say, oh, this isn't great anymore. And you feel embarrassed that you've let it go for so long, kind of not stayed on top of things in that way.
Oh, I can 100% relate to that. And, you know, my story is very much about that. So especially being so young.
How old are you?
At the moment, I'm 30. So
are you? You must have been 29 when MAFS was running, Married at First Sight.
I got married the day after my 29th birthday. Yeah, so, when I was cast, I was 28, and, I got married the day after my 29th birthday, which I took as a sign. I was like, oh, it's definitely meant to be.
Like it's perfect timing.
Yeah, exactly.
And how old were you when you firstly, has it just been one toxic relationship you've been in, or have you been in a couple or many?
I've definitely been in a few. This one is a standout one because of this, a big part of it really helped me to change my life and realise that I wanted better. So this is a standout for me. There have been times when I was younger that I let a lot of people walk over me and I wasn't very strong, but this one was very significant, yeah.
Okay. And so how old were you when you met this particular person?
So it was getting towards my 22nd birthday.
How did you guys meet?
It's actually a lovely story how we met. It started off amazingly. So my mum, it's really random. My mum, she used to get her nails done at a salon, and the owner who used to do her nails used to see me come with her sometimes, and he wanted to catch up and, I don't know, maybe date eventually. And finally mum convinced me to go out with him because I just moved to Adelaide and I didn't have any friends, and I was like, all right, I'll just go. And it was really funny. We were getting ready to go out night clubbing, and he told us that his friend was going to be there as well and come with us, but he was running really late. And I was like, you know, I was young and I was like, oh, like, I just want to go. Like, I'm feeling the vibe. I want to go out. He's like, no, please just wait for my friend. Like, he'll be here really soon. And so we waited for him. And as soon as Jake walked through the door, there was something about him that was like magical, and I think I almost fell for him as soon as he opened the door and came in. Really, he had this amazing vibe about him and a really happy face that I was really drawn to, and literally the whole night we were just talking non-stop. It was like no one else was there, and it was just really lovely. I don't think we slept that whole night because we were just talking, and it was actually really lovely.
I love those sort of things where it's like you get along so well that you just want to talk to each other constantly, and like the time just slips away and you realise, oh my goodness, it's been like 4 or 5 hours and we've just been talking.
Yeah, it's such a lovely thing when it happens, and I'm so glad that I have had that experience at least once in my life. I remember driving home afterwards, and it's so sappy, but I actually had tears of joy because I was like, I've met such a significant person, and it was just such an amazing experience. So, yeah, I had a little bit of a happy cry. So,
did you feel like he understood you and like that's how you connected so well?
Yes, 100%. And he was just funny, and it was just very effortless and easy, and it very strange because he actually had never had a girlfriend before. He hadn't even held a girl's hand, and he spoke so well and so comfortably with me. So I was very impressed after he told me that. I was like, wow. Yeah, your communication skills and just who you are is amazing.
So how long were you guys together for?
All up, we were on and off for about 2 years, but if you sort of condense it to the time that we were actually together, I would say about 6 months.
Oh, really? So it really was quite a bit then.
Yeah, it wasn't a long time. Really, I guess in my relationship history, it was a long time because I haven't been with that many people and for not long time. So, yeah, for me, it was long, but yeah.
So was it on and off because of him or because of you? Or was it just because of you two together? It was just one of those mixes?
Because I knew that we had an amazing connection, I would hold on to him because I was very hopeful. But then as things got quite toxic, I would get to the point where I was like, stuff you, like, I don't need you in my life. And, you know, then I'd start to miss him and think about the good times. And then, you know, I'd give him a call just to see how he was. And he'd be like super happy to hear from me. And, you know, just things happen and you get back together and try again. And so it was sort of like that, just on and off. And, it was something quite significant that made me leave in the end.
Yeah. So was it such a significant relationship compared to other toxic ones because you were more emotionally invested in this one?
Yeah, and I was a little bit older. So the relationship before that was quite serious. I was 16 years old. So it had been years between the two relationships. So I thought I knew myself a lot better and what I wanted. And so I thought he was a good fit for me at first.
At the time. And then you're like, actually. Like, did you know that it was toxic at the time, or did you realise that after things ended?
Well, because he hadn't had a relationship before. I think he was really, I don't know how to explain it. I guess he was like well behaved at first. You know, he didn't have any experience like with any girls really. I don't even think he had many girlfriends. So I think he was just very cautious about what he did and said around me because it was all very new to him. So I guess when we first dated, he was very polite and very considerate, and he'd just do little things that made me feel quite appreciated. Like if we were going out, he would bring me little snacks to eat or, you know, socks to wear if it was really cold. Like he'd sort of really take care of me in that sense. And I'm someone who's quite caring of other people, and it was just nice to have those little things here and there that made me feel wanted and appreciated. But as he grew comfortable, I just started noticing changes. I guess it started with just little comments here and there that he would bring up, in particular about my weight. So,
really?
Yeah, so
never comment on a woman's weight. That's like rule number one.
No, that's right. Well, to paint a picture, just so you have an idea, I guess a little bit about where he was coming from. So Jake was ridiculously fit. Like
really?
I could say he looked like a bodybuilder. I remember he used to go to the gym all the time. If he wasn't at university, he was at the gym, and he used to tell me that men would quite frequently come up to him and ask him, like, you know, oh, you look so, like, you know, buff, like, how do you get like that? Can you give me tips? He was also the sort of person that would pack his bag for the day for work, and he would run 7.5 kilometres to work. He would just run non-stop all the way there, have a shower and then work, and then he would run home. And he also was a cyclist, so he spent thousands of dollars on his bike and, you know, the little outfits they wear. And yeah, like he was constantly riding around, and he was just a ridiculously fit person. His whole life was about health. And he told me that he went to a rich school, and his parents weren't very wealthy, but they must have saved so much to get him to go to this school. And so at school, all of his friends would sort of show off their possessions, and he thought the only thing that he could offer is like having a good body and being fit and healthy. So that was his little thing to show off. So he was so big on health. And when I met him, I was already a big girl. I wasn't at my biggest. I was about maybe 83 kilos, which was quite big for my frame. I'm 170 centimetres tall. And so he met me, and I was already like overweight. And I guess, yeah, just over time, as he got more comfortable with me, he would just say things like, should you be eating that? Or just little things like that that made me feel a bit self-conscious about, yeah, my weight and my lifestyle and those sorts of things. And it just got to the point where he'd never say things like, you're fat, but he sort of talked around it and made me feel really down about myself. And it's just strange because when he met me, I was overweight already. It wasn't like I was really skinny, and then as I got comfortable as well, like I started piling on weight. Like it was a little bit confusing to me. And I always used to say to him, like, you know, can't you just accept me as I am? Like, why do you always have to make me feel so down about myself and what I'm eating? And I'm not someone who cries very often. I wish I could, because I think it's such a liberating thing, but I just used to cry all the time with him, like as things went on, and like really sob too, because even though I was never teased in school or put down about the way I was looked, really, I was very self-conscious about it anyway, just my own inner dialogue. And for him to sort of push on those insecurities wasn't really a nice thing at all.
No, kind of like subtly bullying you into submission. Like, I don't know. I think if you've met him like that, he knows, like, I don't know, I know it sounds terrible, it's kind of like, you know what you're getting into. Do you know what I mean? Like, you've accepted them as they are. You don't want to get into a relationship and go, I'm going to fix that person up and make them what I want them to be or what I think they should be.
Yeah, that's right. His delivery was just really harsh, and I just don't understand why he had to be like that. And I'd speak to his sister about it and try and get her to talk to him and make him more reasonable. And just as time went on, it just got worse and worse. And it got to the point where one day I was so upset at him and I was trying to justify my weight. I said to him, like, I've done some research and I've seen that in the past, like years and years ago, voluptuous women, they were actually seen more attractive than thinner women. And I just think that's so beautiful. And he's like, well, I think, you know, you probably should have lived in those days then. And it was really, it was really, he said it, this is like 8 years ago, so it was said a lot more harshly. I can't remember the exact words, but I actually pushed him because I was so over it. Shouldn't have done that, but I was so emotional. I was like, get out. Disrespect me like that. But even still, I still took him back after that. I don't know why. I was young and I don't know. But yeah, it just got to the point where he was just so rude about it, and it wasn't very nice at all.
And harsh, and like not necessarily coming from like a loving place. Like, it's different if you go like, hey honey, I'm just a bit worried about, you know, your health, and like if you've got symptoms like lack of energy and it's becoming a thing, like if it's coming out of concern rather than just vanity and just wanting you to look good because he just wants you to, like that's a different scenario. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And that's how he made me feel, that it was just a looks thing. And it just really got to me. There was a point as well where I asked him for help with my budgeting because he was really good with that. And part of that was I gave him access to my online banking. And he used to see that I would spend money on groceries, and he would ask me to list out everything that I had bought to see if it was necessary for me to have consumed. And he was just extremely controlling. Like, that's the point it got to, like, and I felt obligated to list everything down. And he would like buy me little treats and then he would ration them, like he'd only give me a particular amount. And yeah, it was really weird now that I talk about it.
Like, did he think that he was gonna, like, at the end of the day, if you want to lose weight, it really is up to you because you have your own mouth and what you put in it is really 100% your responsibility, not someone else's. Like, that's so weird.
No, it was very strange, and it got to the point where I can be quite stubborn. I can admit that. And when he would monitor what I ate, I actually felt like rebelling against him and being like, you know, you can't tell me what to do. And I would actually go and eat the things that he would tell me not to eat, as sort of like, you know, I can do what I want, don't tell me what to do. And that's when I absolutely ballooned up to 97.5 kilos. Like, I was just eating Hungry Jacks and takeaway food and really, really unhealthy food just to sort of get back at him, which was also really unhealthy. But I was just feeling so down about myself because of the way he was making me feeling, that I was being very destructive without even realizing it. And I guess I then formed an even more unhealthy relationship with food because I was using it to sort of make me feel better, but then at the same time not. My head was just an absolute mess. I was so emotional, especially because, you know, I was feeding my body all these horrible things. And yeah, it got to a point where I was planning a trip to Thailand with some friends, and we went away and I had a break from Jake, and while I was there, overseas, I actually had a complete breakdown. I locked myself in my hotel room. I wasn't getting along with my friends. It was just a really hard time. You know, I'd had enough with Jake, and I just locked myself into the hotel room, and I just cried. I cried so hard and deeply, and I was feeling horrible about my weight and myself and just everything around me. And it was a really down and horrible moment. But that was the point where I realised that everything needed to change, and everything around me and myself as well was toxic, and I needed to cut all ties from everything, in particular him, because even though I went and ate the food and got into bad habits, I did blame him for contributing to that. And yeah, so he was supposed to pick me up from the airport when I got back, and I told him, don't come, I don't want to speak to you again. And I gave him the reasons why. And after that, my transformation began. So I think when I was so definite this time, I think he was quite shocked, and he sort of tried to win me back, and he was like, I'm going to be there anyway, and I want to see you and make things work. And I was like, if you come, I won't even look at you or speak to you. Like, there's no point in you coming. This is it. Like, I'm changed, and I'm going to go on a lighter path for me, purely for me. And yeah. And for me, it was such a hard experience, but it was a turning point, and just things have gotten better and better. It's not like I learnt every lesson after that time. Like, I still went through different things that were very hard during those 8 years up until where I am now. But I feel like that was the hardest point of all of it, my whole journey. And yeah,
so very monumental, that's for sure. Like a big defining moment for you. So how's your life changed since then? So once the breakup happened, like you said, you cut out other things in your life that were toxic too. So what kind of things were those?
So the friends that I travelled with in Thailand, I stopped speaking to them as well. So it was all relationships in my life that were toxic that I cut. So he was the most toxic one, but I just had a lot of friends that were using me because I have been such a people pleaser my whole life. I feel like people really took advantage of that, and so I just cut them off as well. I really just put myself first in all areas. I went and saw a naturopath, and she put me on a diet that helped me to lose weight and cleanse myself. So there was just a good 2 years where I really focused on myself, and, you know, I didn't really care about being a big bunch of friends because I just was focusing on me. And I have done this through particular periods of my life, and it's always been really, really rewarding. I think it's always a good investment to put time into yourself to develop and grow and become a better person, and I highly recommend it. People in your life will understand, the good people that are meant to be in your life will understand, and they'll give you that time, and they'll be there for you when you're ready to come back and live at your fullest. Yeah, it's just happened more and more me the more I practice that.
Yeah, totally. Well, I can relate to that myself actually, because I haven't done that multiple times in my life, but I know throughout my breakup, the people in my family, like I got closer to my family again, and my friendships really helped me through that tough time, and I was prepared to lose a lot of friendships. I thought, we've got a lot of mutual friends. When we break up, I'm going to, because he was very manipulative, so I thought that he would, get them on his side and poison them against me and all this sort of stuff. But when we broke up, I was actually quite surprised. I kept a lot of my friends, and I didn't really lose any at that time. But when I went through the whole, self-love thing, putting myself first, realising that I was a chronic people pleaser, part of the club, and walkover, I realised how I was being taken advantage by people in my life. And so I started shedding the friendships that weren't helping me or caring for me as well. Like, I'd be there for them and I would always, be positive around them and give them compliments and build them up. But like, there was never, it was kind of, just like I'd get like negativity from them if I was doing something different or trying something out. So I was kind of like, you know what, I don't need those people weighing me down. So I'm just going to distance myself, not cut them off altogether, but just distance myself and see how.
Good on you.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, like, it didn't feel like the best thing in the world, but I knew I had to do it, like, for self-love and self-preservation, really, and to really not be highly influenced by those people, but kind of find out, I don't know, more about myself and what I want for myself, and not live according to other people's rules and what they think I should be doing or shouldn't be doing or acting or whatever. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, 100%. And it takes so much strength to do that, because it's going against the norm.
It is.
You know, people find that it's such a weird thing to do that, and it's very rare when it should be something that's practiced more and more. So you're very brave for doing that, and I commend you for it, because people need to do it a lot more.
Yeah, you too, definitely. It does take a lot of strength, and sometimes you kind of think, oh, well, what's that saying? It's better to be alone than around the wrong people, and like, that is 100% so important.
Yeah, I will totally vouch for that. Like, what's the point in hanging around people that make you feel worse about yourself? You're best being in your own company where you feel light and happy and just good, in a good space. Yeah, that's right. Like, when I was younger, I did want to be liked and have a lot of people around me and, want everyone to like me. And the older I've gotten, the smaller my circle of friends got, because you don't need a lot of people in your life. You just need those few good friends. And I know it sounds very cliche, but it's so true. You need those people to lift you up and just be in your tribe. And if your vibe attracts your tribe, exactly. And if someone's not a good fit for you, then like, you've got to put yourself first and not have them in your life, as even if they're your family. Like, you just have to have that self-respect and put that as number one, and have faith in yourself that you're doing the right thing in doing that.
Yeah, 100%. I couldn't have said it better myself, actually. You worded that really well. And like, my attitude years and years and years and years ago, because I am a very committed person and loyal, so for me it was very hard to kind of think that way, and I felt really guilty about it, because I'm like, if someone's in my life, I'll be there for them forever, regardless. I thought that's what unconditional love and friendship was. But if it's going to be damaging to you and it's not helping you in any way, and you feel really drained from being around those people or from that experience or that ex or whatever, like, that's not going to help you long term. You're going to have a depleted cup, and you need to fill your cup so you can actually be the best version of yourself to help other people in your life and show up for them. So
100%. I agree. And I think there's a difference between being there with people when they're going through a hard time and then being quite negative, and then them being narcissists, like you've said previously, and really taking advantage of you during a point. So, I guess it's about finding that line and knowing what's healthy and then what's sort of normal, because not everyone's always going to be on a high and positive all the time. Life is quite hard, and we go through different things, and sometimes these things are out of our control, like illness or mental health. And it's just about finding that line, really, and knowing what's acceptable and what's not. And I always go off my feelings and how people make me feel. I think that's often a good guide. And, it would be great if people could tap into that a little bit more.
Absolutely. I love that you said that, because I know for me that I'm very much like that. I'm a very kinesthetic person, so I go off like, the feelings that I get from someone and like the vibe between us. So if the vibe isn't good, regardless of how logically you can make it sound that it's fine, if I have a gut feeling that it's not, I just know that it's not, and I just need to learn. Well, I've already learned to trust that and follow that now, whereas before I didn't really do that. So quite often people would talk me around, persuade me, use or whatever to try and back me into a corner. And now I'm like, you know what? No, like you put your foot down. You go, this is not.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
That is so great. I know exactly what you mean because it's been exactly the same for me. Like, friends would try and talk me around things as well. But at the end of the day, if you're not feeling good about something, that's coming from deep within inside you, and you need to listen to that. It's your gut talking, and that's really, really important. One of the things that I live by is to follow your gut because it will always take you the right way.
For sure. And that's why I think when I was watching you on Married at First Sight, that's why I was so attracted to you from the start, because I was like, I could tell that you're a little bit spiritual, and I knew that you were like a fearless little girl like me. And I remember when I was actually watching, like I watched the whole show, I was completely obsessed, and a whole bunch of me and my friends used to actually watch it. We used to get together, right, at this house. We'd take it in turns. We'd like bring food and we'd watch it. And Derek can like our football.
That's so cute. I love that.
Yeah, it was so good. We loved it. And like you definitely handled yourself throughout the whole process with grace and dignity the whole time, which I really respected, because some people I find on reality TV, you think they're okay up until a certain point, and then they kind of like lose you a bit because you're like, oh, they really lashed out there. I didn't expect them to react like that. But the whole time you kept like a level head. Even though you were hurt and upset by a few things, like you were never mean or nasty or had to get payback or revenge or anything like that. Do you know what I mean? Which I really liked and really respected, because that's how I like to think of myself when I handle those sort of situations too.
Oh, thank you so much. That's really lovely feedback. I appreciate it. I guess one thing I can say about that is it's definitely taken a lot of hard times to sort of have that nature just always been there. I've had some really low points, and I guess through those low points I've learned that I treat people how I would like to be treated. And so I guess that's why I behaved in that way, because I don't want anyone to go off at me or have, ill intentions towards me. So I would certainly not act like that no matter what happens. So, I really appreciate what you've said. Thank you.
That's okay. Just back to your body transformation. So when the show ended, like I know you kind of got like healthier and all that sort of stuff, and you lost a lot of weight, because I think it came out while the show was on or afterwards that you'd lost like 20 kilos or something. And then I think after the show, you kind of took it a step further, didn't you? And then you started your own body transformation program.
It's really funny how that happened. And I think it was really one of those meant to be situations, because I didn't really talk much about my weight loss on the show. It was only like a little bit, and I never talked about how much. So I lost 30 kilos before going on to MAFS. And the only reason it was so highlighted was because as I was getting to know the other cast members, we'd talk a bit about our history and what sort of people we were. And I mentioned to a few of them that I had lost so much weight. They were quite inspired and thought it was a pretty big deal, and it actually got back to the producers. Then my producer called me about it, and he's like, why didn't I know about this? Like, this is such a big thing and something that you should share. And so it happened very organically, and that's why I believe it was meant to be. It really inspired people, and people were asking me about it all the time on social media after they learnt about it. And I thought, I'm really helping people by sharing my experiences, and it just sort of boomed, really. So now I'm in the process of writing an ebook on my transformation, and I'm really getting into the fine details of my everything that happened through the journey. And I think that's going to be a really important piece for people who are wanting to be very realistic about doing something similar. And I'm not going to glamorize it. I'm going to be very real about what happened from start to finish, and hopefully people can relate and use it as a big source of motivation to kickstart their journeys or maybe take their journey to the next step. So it's been a very therapeutic process writing about it as well. Yeah, I'm very excited to release that soon.
That is so exciting.
Yeah.
Are you still on your smoothie or juicing detox as well?
I am, although I did, I must admit I slipped off and had a espresso martini last night. So, come on, we're all human.
That's right. We make mistakes.
But it was the night of day 5. So I was out and about and I was like, oh, why not? But otherwise I've been really good, and I don't know why, but I haven't felt hungry. It has been such a smooth and easy process. So, and I guess it's always good at the start of the year to, you know, detox and start fresh. So maybe that motivation of the new year has helped as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been really good.
So when you decided to, so you were overweight initially with your ex, and then you hit rock bottom and you're like, that's it, things are changing, and you like detoxified your life and everything. When you were wanting to lose weight, was it for him or was it for you?
It was 100% for me. It wasn't like it wasn't like you know, I'm going to get really thin and sexy and then you'll be jealous. Like, it wasn't like that at all. It was purely for myself and to feel good within myself, and and also heal from a horrible experience, something that I had so much hope in at the start. And, you know, I really loved him, even though everything that I've, like, I did love him. And so I was really trying to heal myself in all ways, and I think health is the best way that you can heal yourself, literally. So, yeah, it was me, and I think that's the best way to do it. It's the only way to do it, really.
Yeah, I think so too. You can love yourself through food.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because I know for me, when I first met my ex, like years and years and years ago, I was at my best physically. So I'd always been a girl growing up with like a little bit of pudge. I wasn't like super skinny, but I also wasn't large either. But I always had like these wobbly bits I wish weren't there or whatever, but it wasn't excessive. And then when I moved into state, I kind of like changed everything. I had a major overhaul, clean slate, started afresh and got super fit, like the skinniest I've ever been, the most flexible, just the healthiest.
Wow.
I just ate like fresh food and drank tons of water, and I think I went from like a size 16 down to an 8, so it was quite a big change.
Oh, whoa. That's massive.
It was big, yeah. And I'm like 6 foot, 6'1", 6'2" or something, so I'm like tall. And yeah, I got my skin changed, like my hair consistency changed. I remember being jealous of the girls who used to go to Supre. Remember like Supre in the 90s, where it was like this big, like the cool shop to go to. And
I get what you mean, totally.
And they always had like these teeny tiny sizes, so I never got to shop there. And then when I lost all this weight, I went shopping at Charlestown one day in Newcastle, and I thought, I want to go to Supre and see what fits, because I knew I'd lost all this weight but needed new clothes, and a new wardrobe. And I was a waitress at the time, so I just used my tips and, you know, splurged on this new wardrobe. And I went into Supre, and I got a shock when I fit into like a size 8 skirt, because I've got like an hourglass figure, so my hips are a little bit wider.
Okay.
And I got a shock, and I looked in the mirror and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe that's me. And I was just so happy, and I fit into all these clothes and I didn't have to hide anything. Not that I was like flaunting it either, but I just felt so confident and amazing.
Understand.
And then when I got with my ex, like eventually the bad habits kind of came in, and it started unraveling all my good work. So I'd start eating all this like processed food and takeaway and snacking and all that. And I could feel that it was starting to make me more lethargic. But sometimes when you get into a relationship, you put on a bit of happy weight. Do you know what I mean? Like, because
quite normal.
Yeah. But I kind of got to the point where I got to my heaviest and I got to 99 kilos. And when I saw that, yeah, it jolted me. And I was like, I am not, over my dead body, my bottom faces the ground, I am not going to get to 100 or over. And that's when things started to change. I started to work on my health. Yeah, like the environment that I was in and the relationship I was in didn't support that. So it was a real struggle. Years later, I've been going through a lot of stuff legally with him for a while, and it just ended last year. And so now I feel like I can finally get on track with my food, because I did a lot of self-care for a while there, but I wasn't really loving myself through food and that sort of thing. So this year is the year that things are changing and I'm going to be feeling healthy and energetic and strong and all that sort of stuff. So I'm very much into like looking at people like yourself and all these other podcasters and stuff that are like, I wouldn't say gym junkies or health freaks, just health and well-being advocates and leaders, you know?
Yeah, well, that's an amazing story and you should be so proud, because it's really hard. Like, it's so hard to be motivated, especially if you're not educated in health and fitness. And yeah, like, so good on you for making a change. And I guess it sounds a bit like my story, like you sort of got in a bad place and then you do what you need to do to make things better. So yeah, that's a lovely story and good on you.
Well, I think good on you for actually putting it out there so everyone can see your journey. Do you know what I mean? They'll see, like, they already know you've transformed quite a bit of your life, and then you're actually putting it out there and wanting to help others and that sort of thing too. So that'll be really good to, like, inspire and motivate and connect with other people. You know, it makes a big difference because the world can be a very unhealthy place.
Yeah, no. Oh, it massively can be. I feel like, you know, even if you just switch on the news, you're always seeing negative things and there's nothing that's really inspiring or happy. And so I feel like I love being an advocate for being positive, because there needs to be more of it around. Like, it's so easy to talk about all those horrible things going on in the world and with people, and it's just, it's heavy. It's really heavy and it's hard to get through. And so, yeah, whatever I can do to help people and make this world a better place, like, I'm so happy to do that, even if it means being a bit of a goofball.
I think people love you for it.
Embarrassing myself. Oh, it's very sweet. Like, sometimes I'll post things and I'm like, oh, probably shouldn't have done that. Like,
I do that too.
And then and it's always so well received. Like, it's just the most magical thing, and I am so grateful, like beyond grateful. So
I think because you're very
because
genuine.
of my amazing, I definitely, I don't know how to not be genuine. Like, I've always been myself, even on MAFS. That's one thing that I said to myself and agreed with myself when I went on the show, is that I'm going to be 100% myself, and then there's nothing I could ever regret. And I definitely stuck to that, and I guess it showed, which is amazing. So and I hope it inspires other people to do themselves. Yeah, because there's nothing more liberating than just being who you are, and being fake just to be accepted. You're never going to be happy ever. And so just own who you are and enjoy it. And
I think you did a great job of that.
What I do. Sorry, what was that?
I think you did a great job of that, because when like, this is how I knew that you were being authentic and genuine, like for real, because I thought, like, when like, there was a couple of times, so I won't go into too much specifics because I know we can't talk too much about your relationship and that on there, but particularly in like the introduction of who you were onto the show, you were saying how, and this is what reminded me of me, because you're like talking about how you would love the fairy tale. Do you know what I mean? Where you fall in love and you get married and you have a big life wedding and all that, and the perfect engagement would be in front of the Eiffel Tower. And I'm not going to lie, I'm going to be honest, yes, I've picked 2 names already, you know, and I was like, I like this girl.
Oh, so embarrassed. But it's true. It's like what I had in my head. So, yeah, like, I don't know. Again, you just got to own it and just have a bit of a laugh at yourself and not take things too seriously. Like, I mean, I'm a pretty deep person, but at the same time, like, I'm also very easygoing and, you know, I can have a laugh at myself. You need to have a little bit of both, I think, in life. So, oh, that's so nice that you said that. Thank you.
That's okay. That's not a problem at all. Yeah. Oh. No, it was good. I loved the show. It was so good. Did you actually apply for it?
Yes, I applied just like the thousands of other people did. So I did it right from the start. I didn't know a producer or anything to get a shortcut. I put my heart and soul into my application, minus my video that I sort of just winged. So lucky. It was just such an easy thing for me. It was, you know, yes, the whole way through. And before I knew it, I was trying on my wedding dress. And so I really believe that it was meant to be, and it's changed my whole life. It's enabled me to reach out to people in ways that I never imagined possible, and I am so ridiculously grateful for that.
Yeah, well, good on you for putting yourself out there, because it does take courage to put yourself out on the line there for the whole nation to see and judge and all that. Like, it's pretty daunting, because like because I think it was the end of last year, I thought, you know what, I might give it a go and just apply and see what happens. And when I was doing it, I'm like, I feel really vulnerable right now.
Oh, yeah. Like, it's, you know, I guess probably what they liked about my application is I literally gave them my whole life story. Like, because I asked you a lot of questions, and I was like, you know, I'm just going to put it all on the table. There's nothing I really have to hide. Like, you know, sure, I haven't done all the right things in my life and I've gone through some really horrible times, but that's part of my journey. And again, I just have to own it and put it out rather than hide it. And I feel like when you're vulnerable, people are very nurturing towards that, and they appreciate it, because you do have to be brave to say, I'm not perfect and I haven't always done the right things, and it's just human. And once that sort of elephant's out of the room, like, you can just be free, and that is the most amazing thing.
100%. It's true. And like, I think with social media these days, it is easy to make it look like you follow these people that look like they've got the perfect lives and perfect this and perfect that. And you find out that they've got stuff going on and da-da-da-da, and you can only take that sort of thing with a grain of salt. I think you're like me, where we both try and choose to be positive and put that sort of energy out there, but it doesn't always mean that life is perfect, you know, like, we are human, we make mistakes, like, that's just
exactly. Yeah, that's right. And I think it's important for people to be more real and talk about all the things that happen in life, because that's how we help each other get through it and normalize it and know that everything's going to be okay. And yeah, like, I wish there were more people who did express their vulnerabilities, because I just think we'd all feel so much more connected, especially via social media, if people were more like that and it was more socially accepted.
Yeah, people are missing authentic connection these days. Like, we're a bit not deprived of it, but even though technology is an amazing tool and there's so many great, amazing positives about it, it has brought like this comparison thing in people's lives where they think, oh, that person's on a holiday and they're having the time of their life and I'm here working my guts out or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like, just that comparison. Yeah.
100%. Yeah. And it's very hard. And I feel like, you know, life is can be very superficial now, and people are sort of put into boxes of, you know, like, where do I work? What car do I drive? That sort of thing. And you don't focus on what makes that person fundamentally, and that's what's really important, and that's what will be remembered, and legacy will be had. So
not just your looks and what you got, but like who you are as a person and how you treat people and your values and stuff like that really is severely lacking, like that awareness and that focus on those sort of things. It's really important.
I think so as well, 100%.
So I've got a scenario for you.
Okay, great. Oh, I love these.
I thought I'll just chuck it in there and see what you say. So if you were, like, for example, in an elevator one day and you came across this girl and she said that she was in a toxic relationship, but it's just ended and she didn't know what to do from that point onwards, what advice would you give her? Like, what sort of things would you say that helped you that might help her? Or, like, can you think of 3 or 5 pieces of advice that she could possibly take on board and implement into her life? Like, or alternatively, like, if you were talking to yourself 8 years ago, what would you tell yourself? Do you know what I mean? Like, that sort of thing. Because obviously shifts in mindset from the person you were to obviously who you are now.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, so what I would say is, after such a traumatizing time, I think, first of all, you just need to cocoon yourself with the things that you love. And I would say to start with going back to basics. So, you know, it doesn't have to be big, grand things to make yourself feel better. You don't have to go out and buy a new car or something like that. It can be as simple as having a cup of tea and sitting there and really enjoying it and just being mindful of those little things and then building on that as time goes by. So, when going back to basics really helps because it just makes you appreciate those little things during a day that are achievable. You know, for me, like I always say, like one of the best things someone could do for me to make my day is to buy me a coffee. And I know that sounds like ridiculous, but I love coffee so much and it makes me feel good. And so just little things like that, they're achievable things, you know. And so, go back to basics, find the things that make you feel so happy, you as an individual, not what's socially accepted, and just cocoon yourself with those things as much as you can, and then work on goals for the future and how you might like to achieve them step by step. That's what I did. Yeah. And that's what really helped me, because if you put too much expectation on yourself, often you will fail and you'll feel worse. And so if you just do things that make you feel good and inspired bit by bit, then it makes things seem so much more achievable and like you can really get ahead. Yeah.
And like you actually enjoy the day and enjoy the moment a lot more than stressing, worrying or feeling depressed or whatever.
That's right.
So where can people find you if they want to look you up?
So I've got a website which I have put my heart and soul into, which is www.alyciagalbraith.com. You can also find me on Instagram. So my handle is Alycia Felicity, and I've also got a YouTube account. But if you go on to my website, everything is all linked together, and you can see sort of all my different platforms on there.
Oh, awesome. I haven't seen you on YouTube yet. Like, I've looked you up for MAFS, but like I didn't know you had your own channel. So that's cool. I'll have to have a look at that.
Yeah, I do. Yes, I've got a video on there talking about mental health and why I came off social media for a period of time and how that benefited me. And again, it talks about how I once again secluded myself from the world and just focus on myself in a different way to anything I'd done in the past. So, it's definitely a really strong piece which goes along with everything we've spoken about today.
Yeah, I'll have to look at that because I think the other day, which I really respected, like you spoke on Instagram stories and you were like, hey, everybody, like I'd love to get back to all your comments and all your messages, but you know, realistically, that's a very hard thing to do, and just like be nice about it because, you know, like you were offline for a while for a reason. Do you know what I mean? Like it can be very demanding. Yeah. Messaging you and wanting things and responses and stuff like that all the time. So, I respected that because I was like, at least she's honest about it. And,
Yeah. Thank you. And that was my intention. at the end of the day, it didn't matter how it was going to be received, because I needed to put it out there and really be strong in that. And yeah, it's definitely something that I will focus on this year. Again, just being very confident in my decisions and having boundaries and having the confidence to say no.
Yeah, totally. And that can be a hard thing when you're a people pleaser, because it goes against your default mode. So you've got to really...
Yes, your natural self. Yeah.
And not feel guilty about it. Like, that's still something I struggle with too. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's very hard. But again, like anyone that doesn't respect your boundaries, it shouldn't be in your life, and it's their problem at the end of the day, not yours.
Exactly, because people like us, we would respect their boundary. Do you know what I mean? So it's only fair to expect that in return. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So, yeah, that's a really good point, actually. I'll keep that noted. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. I had a great time. So easy to talk to you.
Oh, thank you. So are you. Like, you're just so lovely. It's so nice having these experiences, and, yeah, I'm really glad that you are. So thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning in. I would really appreciate it if you guys would leave me a review on iTunes. I ask this because your review will help the success of this show so that it has the potential to reach many more women out there who would benefit from hearing this message, as podcasts have an algorithm too, just like Facebook and Instagram and other platforms out there. If you enjoyed this podcast or something has resonated with you, then be sure to subscribe so you're informed of every new episode that is released and so you don't miss a thing. And share the love by passing this on to someone you know who would benefit from hearing the free content of this podcast. I know that I personally would have benefited from hearing something like this when I was going through my own healing and recovery journey, and it would have propelled me forward further to feel a lot better sooner. So for more beyond this podcast, find the Red Velvet Woman Facebook page, ask to be added to the exclusive group, and come hang out with me on Instagram, where you will find uplifting, thought-provoking quotes and pretty pictures, as well as my link to my YouTube videos. If you want to reach me, you can do so by emailing me at theredvelvetwoman@gmail.com. Until next time, much love, Alycia. Thanks for listening.